Okay. Good morning, girls going with God. Happy Saturday. Good morning. Good morning. Mhm. All right. I don't see nobody on here, but I'm going to start reading at 7:05, and then y'all can just watch this later when y'all get the chance. Matter of fact, I really don't want to wait till 7:05. Told y'all I don't really like waiting because now I'm just sitting here. All right, so I'm just going to go on ahead and pray and start reading, and then y'all can just watch this when y'all get a chance later. So, Father God, I thank you, Lord God, for this day, for this opportunity, Lord God, to be able to read your word, Lord God, to be able to just be in your presence, Father, and to pick up our sword, Lord God, and for you to just show us who you are, Lord God. Just give us the knowledge that you need us to have, the wisdom, the revelation in the name of Jesus. And as you just have your way, God, as you just, bless each and every person that will watch this video at some point, Lord God, and be able to read your word as well, the chapters that we'll read today, God. And as you just cover us and keep us, Lord God. Have your way in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so today we are reading Exodus chapters 21 through 24. So yesterday we read 17 through 20. Um, where we left off with the Ten Commandments being created. So, Exodus 21. I'm going to read in the NCV version, starting with verse 1, Exodus 21. Then God said to Moses, "These are the laws for living that you will give to the Israelites. If you buy a Hebrew slave, he will serve you for 6 years. In the seventh year, you are to set him free, and he will have to pay nothing. If he is not married when he becomes your slave, he must leave without a wife. But if he is married when he becomes your slave, he may take his wife with him. If the slave masters give him a wife and she gives birth to sons or daughters, the woman and her children will belong to the master. When the slave is set free, only he may leave. But if the slave says, 'I love my master, my wife, and my children, and I don't want to go free,' then the slave masters must take him to God. The master is to take him to a door or door frame and punch a hole through the slave's ears using a sharp tool. Then the slave will serve that master all his life. If a man sells his daughter as a slave, the rules for setting her free are different from the rules for setting the male slaves free. If the master wanted to marry her, but then decided he was not pleased with her, he must let one of her close relatives buy her back. He has no right to sell her to foreigners because he has treated her unfairly. If the man who brought her promises to let the woman marry his son, he must treat her as a daughter. If the man who brought her marries another woman, he must not keep his first wife from having food or clothing or sexual relations. If he does not give her these three things, she may go free and she owes him no money. Anyone who hits a person and kills him must be put to death. But if a person kills someone accidentally, God allows that to happen so the person must go to a place I will choose. But if someone plans and murders another person on purpose, put him to death, even if he has to run to my altar for safety. Anyone who hits his father or mother must be put to death. Anyone who kidnaps someone or either sells him as a slave or still has him when he is caught must be put to death. Anyone who says cruel things to his father or mother must be put to death. If two men argue and one man hit another with a rock or with a fist, the one who is hurt but not killed might have to stay in bed. Later, if he is able to get up and walk around with his walking stick, the one who hit him is not to be punished. But he must pay the injured man for the loss of his time, and he must support the injured man until he is completely healed. If a man beats his male or female slave with a stick, the slave dies on the spot. The owner and the slave dies on the spot, the owner must be punished. But if the slave gets well after a day or two, the owner will not be punished since the slave belongs to him. Suppose two men are fighting and hit a pregnant woman, causing the baby to come out. If there is no further injury, the man who caused the accident must pay money, whatever amount the woman's husband says in the court allows. But if there is further injury, then the punishment that must be paid is life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, and bruise for bruise. If a man hits his male or female slave in the eye and the eye is blinded, the man is to free the slave to pay for the eye. If a master knocks out a tooth or of his male or female slave, the man is to free the slave to pay for the tooth. If a man bulls if a man's bull kills a man or a woman, you must kill that bull by throwing stones at it, and you should not eat the bull. But the owner of the bull is not guilty. However, suppose the bull has hurt people in the past, and the owner, though warned, did not keep it in the pen. Then, if he kills a man or a woman, the bull must be stoned to death, and the owner must be put to death. But if the family of the dead person accepts the money, the one who owned the bull may buy back his life, but he must pay whatever is demanded. Use the same law if the bull kills a person's son or daughter. If the bull kills a male or female slave, the owner must pay the master the price of a new slave or 12 ounces of silver, and the bull must also be stoned to death. If a man takes the cover off a pit or digs a pit and does not cover it, and another man's ox or donkey comes and falls into it, the owner of the pit must pay the owner of the animal for the loss. The dead animal will belong to the one who pays. If a man's bull kills another man's bull, they must sell the bull that is alive. Both men will get half of the money and half of the bull that was killed. But if a person's bull has hurt other animals in the past and the owner did not keep it in the pen, the owner must pay bull for bull, and the dead animal is his. Oh, hey. Oh, hey. Joy. Yeah, Izzy, Kirsten. I just went on ahead and read Exodus 21. I know nobody was going to get on and so I wanted to just start because I'm going to just be sitting here not saying nothing. So I just read Exodus 21. So I hope y'all are well. I figure whoever would get on at whatever point would just, catch up or watch it later. I know it's Saturday. So Exodus 21. I don't know. Or what part y'all came in on, excuse me, or what part y'all was able to see or follow along on. So this was a lot of stuff that was said that, some stuff some stuff we are familiar with. Exodus is a lot. Some stuff makes sense to us, some stuff don't. Some stuff makes sense to me, some stuff don't. I'm not even gonna lie. So I don't have a whole lot of explanation or answers, to be honest, to understanding in context. I know the way things were then is much different than now, as far as the slaves and buying back the slaves and killing the slaves or punching holes through their ears and all of that stuff. Obviously, that seems so crazy and unrealistic to us. But whatever context it means in this setting, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. Not even gonna lie. So, um, but yeah. So Exodus 21 is about the loss for living in this time. I don't know. But that part, I want to talk to a master theologian who ain't me. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Hey, Amira. Mm. Should we read the message version? We can. It don't um it don't change my understanding of it. So I'll go on ahead and read the message version. Um and go from there. Let me see. Okay. This is a message version. Um, all right. These are the laws that you are to place before them. This is a message version. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he will serve 6 years. The seventh year, he goes free for nothing. If he came in single, he leaves single. If he came in married, he leaves with his wife. If the master gives him a wife and she gives him sons and daughters, the wife and children stay with the master and he leaves by himself. But suppose a slave should say, I love my master and my wife and children. I don't want my freedom. Then his master is to bring him before God and to a door or a doorpost and pierce his ear within all a sign that he is a slave for life. When a man sells his daughter to be a handmaid, she doesn't go free after 6 years like the man. If she doesn't please her master, her family must buy her back. Her master doesn't have the right to sell her to foreigners since he broke his word to her. If he turns her over to his son, he has to treat her like a daughter. If he marries another woman, she retains all the rights to meals, clothing, and marital relations. If he won't do any of those three things for her, she goes free for nothing. So yeah. If someone hits another and death results, the penalty is death. But if there is no intent to kill, if there's an accident, an act of God, I'll set aside a place to which a killer can flee for refuge. But if the murder is premeditated, cunningly plotted, then drag the killer away, even if it's from my altar to be put to death. I'm not gonna say I don't understand it because it's clear what it says. I ain't gonna say, hold on, let me rephrase to I'm not going to say I don't understand what's being said because it's clear what it says. Um, with the slave masters, and selling the slaves and buying them back and all of that stuff. If somebody kills somebody on purpose, then they'll be punished. If they kill them on accident, how you would kill somebody on accident, I don't know. If you kill somebody on accident, whatever. So what's being said, I think is clear. Um, I understand that it sounds so far out, and obviously the laws are not like this today. So I guess what I'm saying is that I don't have much explanation other than this is how it was during that time. That I guess that's what I'm saying, because I understand what's being said. I think it can be hard to conceptualize because things are not like this today. It's just not. We don't have. There is slavery going on, but it's not. There is slavery going on. Obviously, it's not a thing in the United States, but there are some other countries who still have slavery kind of going on under the radar. So it's not the slavery that we think of as Black people, which I know Black people were not the only slaves. The Black people were not the only slaves in history. That's just the only slaves that we in America think of, but there's other types of slaves too, other type of slavery in history. Black people, I don't even know if Black people was the first slaves, to be honest with you. That was there was other type of slaves. Japanese were slaves at one point. Like there's like different type of slavery. But anywho, if someone hits his father or mother, the penalty is death. If someone kidnaps a person, the penalty is death, regardless of whether the person has been sold or still in possession. If someone curses father or mother, the penalty is death. If a quarrel breaks out and one hits another with a rock or a fist, and the injured one doesn't die and is confined to bed and then later gets better and can get on a crutch, the one who hit him is in the clear, except to pay for the loss of time and to make sure complete recovery. If the slave owner hits a slave, male or female, with a stick and the slave dies on the spot, the slave must be avenged. But if the slave survives a day or two, he is not to be avenged. The slave is the owner's property. When there is a fight, and the fight is, and in the when there is a fight and in the fight a pregnant woman is hit so that she miscarries but is not otherwise hurt, the one responsible has to pay whatever the husband demands in compensation. But if there is further damage, then you must give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. If the slave owner hits the eye of a slave and handmaid ruins it, the owner must let the slave go free because of the eye. If the owner knocks out the tooth of the male or female slave, the slave must be released and go free because of the tooth. If the ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox must be stoned. The meat cannot be eaten, but the owner of the ox is in the clear. But if the ox has a history or goring, and the owner knew it and did nothing to guard against it, then if the ox kills a man or a woman, the ox has to be stoned and the owner is given the death penalty. If a ransom is agreed upon instead of death, he must pay it in full as redemption for his life. If a son or daughter is gored, the same judgment holds. If it is a slave or a handmaid, the ox gores 30 shekels of silver is to be paid to the owner and the ox stoned. If someone uncovers a cistern or digs a pit and leaves it open and an ox or a donkey falls into it, the owner of the pit must pay whatever the animal is worth to its owner, but can keep the dead animal. If someone's ox is if someone's ox injures a neighbor's ox and the ox dies, they must sell a live ox and split the price, and they must also split the dead animal. But if the ox had a history of goring and the owner knew it and did nothing to guard against it, the owner must pay an ox for an ox, but can keep the dead animal. So that's the message version. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if y'all have any questions or comments or thoughts regarding that. Um, you know, but have you seen the movie Alice? Mm-mm. Alice with Kiki Palmer? I haven't. Is it about this? Man, they were that they were free. That they were free. Mm-mm. Wait, is it about Exodus? Is Dallas movie about the Book of Exodus? I never even heard of it, honestly. Hey, Marquita. Oh, shoot. Heck. Um, all right. I'm going ahead and continue on to. So yeah, with Exodus 21, y'all, um, I really don't have anything to be honest with you. This is just the ways of that time. Um, Obviously, people are not buying and selling slaves and families here. That's not our way of living. Um, and I mean, it hasn't been for a long time in the world, period. But um, yeah, people killing people and they bulls and they oxes killing people and having to buy people back and all of that stuff. You know, so sorry, I don't got nothing on it other than that's how that it just laid out the laws for that time, which it seems really crazy, you know, super crazy. But okay. Exodus 22. Okay. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let me see something. Okay. Um, Let me make sure. Okay. All right. Exodus 22. If a man steals, this is kind of going along the same things, just sharing more of the laws or whatever. But Exodus 22. I'm reading back to the NCV version. If a man steals a bull or a sheep and kills or sells it, he must pay back 5 bulls for the one bull he stole, and 4 sheep for for the one sheep he stole. The robber who is caught must pay back what he stole. If he owes nothing, he must be sold as a slave to pay for what he stole. If the stolen animal is found alive with the robber, he must give the owner 2 animals for every animal he stole, whether it is a bull, donkey, or sheep. If a thief is killed while breaking into a house at night, the one who killed him is not guilty of murder, but if this happens during the day, he is guilty of murder. If a man lets his farm animal graze in the field or vineyard and it wanders into another man's field or vineyard, the owner of the animal must pay back the loss from the best of his crop. Suppose a man starts a fire that spreads through the thorn bushes to his neighbor's field. If the fire burns his neighbor's growing grain or grain that has been stacked, or if it burns his whole field, the person who started the fire must pay for what has been for what was burned. Suppose a man gives his neighbor money or other things to keep for him, and those things are stolen from the neighbor's house. If the thief is caught, he must pay back twice as much as he stole. But if the thief is never found, the owner of the house must make a promise before God that he has not stolen his neighbor's things. Suppose the 2 men agree about who owns something, whether ox, donkey, sheep, clothing, or something else that is lost. If each says this is mine, each man must bring his case to God. God's judges will decide who is guilty, and that person must pay the other man twice as much as the object is worth. Suppose a man asks his neighbor to keep his donkey, ox, sheep, or some other animal for him, and that animal dies, gets hurt, or is taken away without anyone seeing what happened. That neighbor must promise before the Lord that he did not harm or kill the other man's animal, and the owner of that animal must accept his promise made before God. The neighbor does not have to pay the owner for the animal, but if the animal was stolen from the neighbor, he must pay the owner for it. If wild animals kill it, the neighbor must bring the body as proof, and he will not have to pay for the animal that was killed. If a man borrows an animal from his neighbor and it gets hurt or dies while the owner is not there, the one who borrowed it must pay the owner for the animal. But if the owner is with the animal and the one who borrowed it does not have to pay. But if the owner is with the animal, the one who borrowed it does not have to pay. If the animal was rented, the rental price covers the loss. Suppose a man finds a woman who is not pledged to be married and has never had sexual relations with the man. If he tricks her into having sexual relations with him, he must give her family the payment to marry her, and she will become his wife. But if her father refuses to allow his daughter to marry him, the man must still give the usual payment for a bride who has never had sexual relations. Put to death any woman who does evil magic. Put to death anyone who has sexual relations with the animal. Destroy completely any person who makes a sacrifice to any god except the Lord. Do not cheat or hurt a foreigner because you were foreigners in the land of Egypt. Do not cheat on a widow or orphan. If you do, they will cry out to me for help. I certainly will hear their cry, and I will be very angry and kill you in war. Then your wives will become widows, and your children will become orphans. If you lend money to one of my people who is poor, do not treat him as a money lender would. Charge him nothing for using your money. If your neighbor gives you his coat as a promise for the money he owes you, you must give it back to him by sunset, because it is the only cover to keep his body warm. He has nothing else to sleep in. If he cries out to me for help, I will listen because I am merciful. You must not speak against God or curse your leader of or curse you must not speak against God or curse the leader of your people. Do not hold back your offering from the first of the harvest and the first wine that you make. Also, you must give me your firstborn sons. You must do the same with your bulls and your sheep. Let the firstborn males stay with their mother for 7 days, and on the eighth day you must give them to me. You are to be my holy people. You must not eat the meat of any animal that has been killed by wild animals. Instead, give it to the dogs. So, these are more of the property laws and, um, property laws and the family laws or relationship laws. And again, these are really to who? The Israelites, right? These are really to the Israelites. Um, but some of these, these parts probably make, sound more familiar or make more sense to some of the stuff that we experience today, but it's still the way things were during that time is still different than now. So, um, the these laws show us that God laid down the groundwork for restitution. Oh, definitely, definitely. Um, it does, and so God is so just like Joy said. I mean, in God, or excuse me, yeah, in God laying down these laws after freeing the um, Israelites um, from captivity from Egypt, from the king of Egypt. Now he's he's set these laws in place after all that, like Joy said, kind of for restoration, or excuse me, restitution. But um, obviously things changed after that. But yeah, people. Well, I ain't gonna say people. I don't know. The world just became modernized. Not that God's principles don't still apply, because obviously God's principles still apply regardless of what era we in, how the Lord, or excuse me, how the world evolves and all of that stuff. But certain aspects of how things were back then is just not how it is today, and that's not necessarily a matter of sin or not. It's just some things were done away with when Jesus came, like under grace, and then some of the parts of the law were abolished. Some of the principles of God still apply, obviously, but some things are just not the same. Um, Even I don't know the way marriage was done. I mean, there's just some things that are just not the same. Nobody's paying for wives. You don't have to pay to well, you gotta pay to get married, but you know what I'm saying? Nobody's paying somebody's family just to marry somebody or whatever. Different stuff. I think the main thing though in the laws that were laid, and I think the next chapter goes over even more laws for that time as well. But the main thing that I noticed about the law so far is that it's all about justice and fairness, right? So we know that the Lord is all about justice for his people and fairness and unity among the people and just doing things fairly and uprightly. And although a lot of these things seem very extreme and kind of weird, and we couldn't imagine life like that, but as you can see, all of this stuff is, hey, if this happens, then, it'll be rectified like this, or I will come in and do this or whatever. So, if anything, we see the righteous and just hand of God making sure that things are done in a fair and honest manner, if we want to take that from it. Exodus 23. Exodus 23. All right. You must not tell lies. Exodus 23, verse 1. You must not tell lies. If you are a witness in court, don't help a wicked person by telling lies. You must not do wrong just because everyone else is doing it. If you are a witness in court, you must not ruin a fair trial. Excuse me. You must not tell lies because everyone else is. If a poor person is in court, you must not take his side just because he is poor. If you see your enemy's ox or donkey wandering away, you must return it to him. If you see that your enemy's donkey has fallen because its load is too heavy, do not leave it there. You must help your enemy get the donkey back on his feet. You must not be unfair to a poor person when he is in court. You must not lie when you accuse someone in court. Never allow an innocent or honest person to be put to death as punishment, because I will not treat guilty people as if they are innocent. You must not accept money from a person who wants you to lie in court, because such money will not let you see what is right. Such money makes good people tell lies. You must not mistreat a foreigner. You know how it feels to be a foreigner because you were foreigners in Egypt. Again, he's talking to the Israelites. For 6 years, you are to plant and harvest crops in your land. Then, during the seventh year, you do not plow or plant your land. If food grows there, allow the poor people to have it and let the wild animals eat what is left. You should do the same with your vineyards and your orchards of olive trees. Ooh, sorry, I feel the yawn coming up. Goodness. You should work 6 days a week, but on the seventh day you must rest. This lets your ox and your donkey rest, and it also lets your slave born in your house and your foreigner be refreshed. But be sure to do all that I have said to you. You must not even say the names of other gods; those names must not come out of your mouth. 3 times a year you must hold a feast to honor me. You must celebrate the feast of the unleavened bread in the way I commanded you. For 7 days you must eat bread that is made without yeast at the set time during the month of Abib, the month when you came out of Egypt. No one is to come to worship me without bringing an offering. You must celebrate the Feast of Weeks. Offer to God the first things you harvest from the fruits you planted in your fields. You must celebrate the Feast of the Shelters in the fall, when you gather all your crops from your fields. When you gather all your crops from your fields. So 3 times during every year, all your males must come to worship the Lord God. You must not offer animal blood along with anything that has yeast in it. You must not save any of the fat from the sacrifice for the next day. You must bring the best of your first fruits of your land to the holy tent of the Lord your God. You must not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. I am sending an angel ahead of you who will protect you as you travel. He will lead you to the place I have prepared. Pay attention to the angel and obey him. Do not turn against him. He will not forgive such turning against him because my power is in him. If you listen carefully to all he says and do everything I tell you, I will be an enemy to your enemies. I will fight all who fight against you. My angel will go ahead of you and will take you into the land of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hivites, and Jebusites, and I will destroy them. You must not bow down to their gods or worship them. You must not live the way those people live. You must destroy their idols, breaking into pieces the stone pillars they use in worship. If you worship the Lord your God, I will bless your bread and your water. I will take away sickness from you. None of your children will have her baby die before it's born, and all women will have children. I will allow you to live long lives. I will make your enemies afraid of me. I will confuse any people who fight against, and I will make all your enemies run away from you. I will send terror ahead of you that will force the Hivites, Canaanites, and Hittites out of your way. But I will not force all those people out in only 1 year. If I did, the land will become a desert and the wild animals will be too many for you. Instead, I will force those people out slowly until there are enough of you to take over the land. I will give you the land from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea and from the desert to the Euphrates River. I will give you power over the people who now live in the land, and you will force them out ahead of you. You must not make an agreement with those people or with their gods. You must not let them live in your land, or they will make you sin against me. If you worship their gods, you will be caught in a trap. So the first section, ooh, sorry, y'all. The verses up to verse 9, verse 1 through 9 is talking about fairness, was called the laws about fairness, integrity, being honest. We see more and more that to enjoy God's blessings, we must obey and not live like pagans. Yes, no compromising or misappropriating grace, grace for real. Like honestly, and yeah. So we see, and so we knew. So God said before in the previous chapters when He first let them out that, you know, He was testing them to see their obedience. If they obey this and if they obey that, then they will experience the blessings of God. Then He will do this. Then He will protect them. Then He will make sure that they are healed and make sure that they, that their enemies are overtaken, right? If they're obedient. So the laws definitely come with the requirement of obedience, you know. So, yeah. And it's so important. It really is to enjoy God's blessings. We really do have to obey Him. And I mean, I think this part, the things that are listed in this chapter are a little bit more, I don't know, relatable. Obviously, he's still talking to the Israelites at that time, but again, some of the principles still apply of honesty, of justice, of obeying Him, not worshiping false idols and those type of things, right? So the principles still apply, and I think um, are what we're able to relate to. Even though the way of life might be different, the way we honor God don't change, right? So in our world, no, we're not harvesting crops and selling animals for food and stuff like that. I mean, people do that, but that's not our way of living, right? But you know, the idol worship and all of that stuff is still obviously something that we still know that we should not do. That's something that's even in the New Testament is still a principle for us to live by. And what is an idol? Sometimes idols are physical, like things that people have that they bow down to, that they worship to, like physical statues and I don't know, trinkets and the things, I guess, or whatever it is that people worship. But an idol is also something that's in your heart that you place it above God, right? Um, Anything that you worship, anything that you kind of pledge your allegiance to. Um, it's I don't even when I just said pledge allegiance, that made me think of what's that thing called that you say that say in school and the soldiers said and all that stuff. Pledge allegiance to the flag. That thing, whatever that's called. I forgot. I done forgot what the thing is called. But even that, I renounced that. Once I started thinking, no, but what's the thing called? What's the name of what? like uh, you know what I'm trying to say? What's the national anthem? That's what I'm trying to think of. The national anthem. Um, that. Uh, Even I renounced that once I started coming to knowledge of just what it means to make different oaths and come into agreement with things and serving false gods and all of that stuff. I renounced that because why am I pledging? I'm not pledging my allegiance to no flag. The flag ain't a god. I don't pledge allegiance to nothing but the Lord, you know? So I renounced that. I don't say that no more. I mean, not that I don't really be in places where it has to be said, but all through school and stuff like that and I don't know, different type of settings. I'm not pledging allegiance to no flag. My thoughts on sororities. So, and I know there's a big, whatever thing about sororities and if it's demonic and the people who are in sororities say it's not demonic because this, that, and the third, all of that stuff. People are, and the denouncing of fraternities and sororities of these um, organizations are becoming more public. And I believe that's for a reason. So I do believe that these organizations, sororities, fraternities, even like the other, not just denying any sorority or fraternity, um, and also like the other organizations like the Freemasonry, Eastern Stars, things like that. I do believe that those are not from God. Not that they don't do good things, not that they don't focus on brotherhood, sisterhood, doing good work, serving the community, and all of that stuff. Not that they don't do good works, right? Some you can't deny that some of them do good works. However, you also cannot deny the foundational idolatry and the evil coventry that is established at the root, the entryways, right? So there's a lot of things that have to be done and said even to become a part of these fraternities and sororities that are often not made public, but are not that are um information is out there and or if any of you have been a part of a fraternity or sorority, if you are a part of a fraternity or sorority right now, or well, not fraternity, obviously you wouldn't be a part of a fraternity, but if you are a part of a sorority right now, then especially if you enter well, whether you enter through college or even alumni, or some even community sororities. There's a few community sororities where you don't necessarily have to have been in college or graduated from college, but for the most part, especially if you entered in through the yard, you already know what you have to go through to get initiated and all that stuff. And so, even like the bylaws and some of the I don't know whatever you call it. It's a word I'm thinking of. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, all of that stuff. You make vows to these different gods. There's these sororities and fraternities. They literally, and it's even if you look up, I mean, some of this stuff you can just look up. I mean, you don't have all the information, but you can even look up their oh, what's the word? I can't think of the word. I want to say pledge, but pledge is not what I'm thinking of. It's another word, but you can see like the gods and the goddesses and the deities that they set as their headstone, right? As the thing that they worship, the thing that they sing praises to, right? There's literally gods and goddesses, and so for that reason, at the foundation, it don't matter who doing what. It don't matter how many homeless people you served during that week. It don't matter how much money you raised and gave to whatever organization or whatever charity for that year. Because at the end of the day, if you are serving and worshiping and singing your praises and serving your allegiance and literally giving your soul over to this false God, whether you claim to be a Christian or not, how is that not idolatry? How is that not satanic? It is. So I do believe that fraternity and sorority, and all of the other organizations, secret societies, and things like that are not of God because of their foundational idol worship. And so that's my thought about that. There's a reason why people are denouncing them. That's not for no reason. Regardless of how many people want to fight it, regardless of how many people don't agree with it or whatever. I don't care. I'm a Christian. I love God. Blah blah blah. Okay, you can say you love God all you want to, but at the end of the day, when you singing your little chant and all that stuff and doing your little rituals, you're serving another God. So I've seen people be delivered from spirits and open doors that have happened as a result of being a part of Eastern Star and all of that stuff. I've seen demons literally be manifested because of their involvement in Eastern Star and because of their family history of it. Doors have been open. I've literally seen it. So just because you ain't seen it, don't mean it ain't real. I've seen it. So that's how I feel about that. I was gonna say something else too. What was I gonna say? Shoot, I don't know. People do haze, which is not legal and not supposed to go on. You in a sorority? Yeah, people do haze. I know hazing is not supposed to be legal. Even besides the hazing, though. I mean, the hazing is not. I mean, the hazing is crazy, anyways, y'all. There's some very just inhumane, vile things that happen in the process of initiation to these fraternities and sororities, y'all. Blood sacrifices happen. It's a lot of stuff that's just grotesque. Um, a lot of what goes on in fraternities and sororities are very filled with pride. Pride is at the forefront of it all. A lot of them are very egotistical, very self-centered. Um, uh, yeah, but yeah. So the hazing, that's one thing. But even at the foundational root, the what do you call it? Um, God, what do you call it? Why am I drawing a blank? I was in a fraternity sorority before. I was in a sorority before. I actually got out of it before I even understood the demonic association with it, to be honest with you. But I was part of a sorority before. It was a Christian sorority. I will say that. It was a Christian sorority. But and I got out of it for different reasons. But not because I thought it was not of God and all that stuff. Not even because we were sinning and doing all that stuff. I got out of it for different reasons. But yeah. But whether you go through hazing or not, it's still if you Amira, you in a sorority and you don't have to, tell I know y'all can't tell y'all or whatever, But if you even look at your what am I trying to it's a word I'm looking for. I guess your bylaws, but that ain't what I'm trying to think of. The I don't know. whatever y'all bylaws are and the things, your little songs that you sing and all those stuff, all those things. I'm not trying to minimize it. I literally cannot think of the word that I'm thinking of. But you know, and if you honestly just take a step back and look at who you're serving, who you're singing to, what gods are at the root, even the origin of the organization, like, what deities are in place, whether God is mentioned or not. Okay, whether Big G God is mentioned or not. Okay, what other gods? You never read the bylaws. I encourage you, Amira, like real talk, sis. I encourage you to read your bylaws. Not even, it's not the read the bylaws, but that ain't what I'm thinking of. Read the bylaws though. But what's the thing, what do you call the like the your main song that you sing? I can't think, it's a word that I'm looking for. And um why do I be drawing a blank like this, y'all? Um, you know what I'm talking about? Is it a no, it's not a pledge. Even we had it. I can't, is it a hymn? Maybe. I feel like it's another word and I don't know. But anyway, because every organization has their own um song or chant or ritual or thing that they say, right? That thing that they all in unison join together and a kumbaya thing that joins and unites them all. Even the words to that. Oh my God. I cannot um this is gonna bother me because I can't uh the bylaws, that's not really what I'm talking about, but it's like the, not maybe the motto. Uh, um, I don't know. Whatever it is, all the stuff that goes, all the stuff that you have to say. Theme song, maybe it's basically the theme song. It's basically the theme song. And maybe that's just the word. I don't know why I don't know. But anyways, basically the theme song. So for instance, yeah, just look up. I would say, okay, just look up, let me see, because I don't want to name a specific sorority, especially that I'm not a part of. But just look up, XYZ sorority god or goddess, and it will come up, right? What that particular sorority or fraternity god is, right? Their god that they serve is public. That is public knowledge. So I'll just say that. So Amira, I encourage you, for real, do some research on whatever sorority you are a part of and see how did it originate. Maybe it is him that maybe it's the theme song. Him ain't what I'm thinking of, but it's basically that. It's basically the theme song. Analyze the words, break it down. Look at y'all bylaws for real, which you should have or have access to. And I'm surprised they didn't make you, if you say you don't know it, I'm surprised they didn't make you memorize it. Um, but look at that and look up the origin of it. What gods does the what do you call it? Does the organization serve? And then go from there. What do they believe in? Well, you can't even say that because what they'll say is that they believe in, oh, I believe in service and achievement and community service and sisterhood and leadership and blah 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 and all that stuff. Not every organization has a theme song. I understand that, but listen, just do your research and ask God to reveal to you the truth of what is of the foundation that the organizations are built on. If you want to know the truth will set you free. And I believe God will reveal to you. We have a him, but I hear you. I definitely will do some digging, girl. Yeah. Um, And so, yeah, I was something popped in my mind too from something that we read yesterday. I think it was in the Ten Commandments or, um, no, it wasn't in the Ten Commandments. No, yes, it was. When, um, when we were going through the Ten Commandments and we was breaking it down, kind of just examples of what each of them mean or whatever. Um, um, where it said you must not use the name of the Lord your God thoughtlessly, right? Or not misusing His name or using His name in vain. And I don't know, something we read today sparked something we just read in this chapter sparked that thought for whatever reason. And so I was like, oh, um, I meant to mention that yesterday. I know, like when we say, I think it's in the message version. Let me go to the message version too. When it says in verse 7, in Exodus 20, verse 7, where it says, no using the name of God, your God, in curses or silly banter. I'm a I'm gonna come back to sorority and fraternity subject in a minute too, because I want to say one more thing. But Exodus 20, verse 7 says, no using the name of God, your God, in curses or silly banter. God won't put up with the irreverent use of his name. And so I just thought, like, I believe that, like, when we say things like, and I do believe there's, as far as cursing God and all of that stuff, obviously, I think those are the obvious things, right? Um, but it says, no using the name of God in curses or silly banter. God won't put up with the irreverent use of his name. Um, what does irreverent mean? Irreverent means showing lack of respect, or showing lack of respect for people or things that are generally taken seriously. So, any way of mocking God, or any way of, I think it's probably wise to be careful, even with saying, and that's for the God, or even how people say on God. Like, you putting something on God that ain't even got nothing to do with God. A, that's probably very sinful. B, you know what I'm saying? And A's, this don't have nothing to do with him. So those type of things too, that just popped in my mind. For whatever reason, I think we gotta be careful too. Sometimes we say, "Oh my God," and so even be careful with that. If it really ain't got nothing to do with God, or you really, you know, I don't know if you want to be putting God in it, whatever you're talking about. So I think though we should be careful when we're using the name of God as well. I don't know, for whatever reason that just popped in my mind. So I think we should just be careful with that too. I hate when I hear people say, when I see or hear people say on God. Why are you putting that on God? All right, but with the fraternities, sororities, this is what I wanted to say. Um, because mhm, uh, I had someone ask the question because we were just talking about it, and they was like, because they're part of a fraternity, um, live, breathe, and eat this fraternity, and they were like, okay, well, what if it might have started that way, but now we don't necessarily um bow down and worship no God. We just try to do good things, right? So basically, like, I wasn't a part of the building the foundation. I'm not the one that decided to dedicate it to a God or whatever, but I'm a part of it now. And we ain't got nothing to do with that. We just serve in the community. We just got brotherhood. We just, making sure each other good. We just enjoying our bond, and, you know, while the intentions might be well and you're not thinking of, well, I didn't bow to no God. A, you did. When you come into agreement with something that is in agreement with the enemy or with the Lord, you are now connected, right? You are now a branch on that tree, and you cannot disconnect yourself from that root, right? If you, especially because with these organizations, you have to make an oath. You have to make a vow, right? And so you are now legally and spiritually binded to this organization. You literally make an oath and a vow to where you commit yourself to life for this organization. And the only way for you to get out, you have to go through a whole process. You have to go through a whole legal process in order to get out some of these places, right? It ain't just, oh, I don't want to be a part of this no more. I changed my mind. Bye. It ain't that easy. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, um, That's just like, let me see what that's like. Let me see. Let me think of a example. I don't know why I can't think of an example. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just tired, y'all. I'm just I am tired. And I went to sleep early yesterday and called myself trying to get 8 hours of sleep, which I got decent sleep, but it's like, man, do you ever just I don't know, maybe it's hard to just catch up on rest. When I think I'm just tired for real. But anyways, um I don't know, I can't think of an example right now. But my point is when you make a vow, it's almost like when you get married. You get married and you have sex, it's like a soul tie pretty much. It's like when you have sex with somebody, anything that they're a part of, anything that they've done, any whatever open doors they got now, you just willingly watch yourself until they open doors, and you opened up your doors for whatever they into to be welcomed into your life and your soul as well. You know, you understand what I'm saying? So when you make a vow, when you make an oath, when you make a vow and an oath to marry somebody, that's a legal binding document that you are now joined with this person as one for the rest of your life or until you go through a legal process to separate, right? And so the same is with these organizations. You make a vow and you make an oath to come into covenant, into agreement with whatever this organization believes in and whatever their foundation is. Whether you understand it or not, whether you try to act ignorant of it or not, it don't matter. Ignorance is not bliss, and what you don't know can hurt you. The Bible says that people perish for the lack of knowledge. That means that what you don't know, the enemy can and will use against you, right? And so, we just got to be careful for real. And I know it's hard to conceptualize. I know it's not popular. And I know that there is a lot of good works that is being done through such organizations and things like that. But is it worth your soul? Like you really have to consider that. Is it worth your soul of being literally having an open door to an enemy because you're serving a false God? Whether you physically are bowing down on your knees, worshiping this God every day or not, you have come into agreement, into a legal binding contract and a covenant and a sacrifice because you are a part of this organization whose false God is leading and guiding it. It don't matter whether you say you're a Christian or not. It don't matter whether you read the Bible or not. There's another part of your soul that's connected to this false God and anything else that's connected to that because that's an open door. And I guarantee you, if anybody just looks up, just go down a rabbit hole, just start researching different stuff, just start looking up different stuff. I guarantee you, you will see it the the gods liturgy that these organizations serve and dedicate themselves to. Okay, so that's what I want to say about that. And I know that I know that the girls go hard about defending their sororities and all of that stuff and go hard against the people who are speaking against it and preaching against it. But so you got to think, people are denouncing for a reason. God is leading them out for a reason. every greek organization every Greek organization has a god or a goddess. Every Greek organization has a god or a goddess. Regardless of what the process is, regardless if there's hazing or not, regardless if there's a theme song or not, they all have a god or a goddess. Not just D9, all of them. All right. So that's what I want to say. I don't want nobody to be bound. I want and I want everybody to Um, you know, just be aware and be curious enough to do research. Hey, Allison. Excuse me, Rachel Allison. Be curious enough to see what the Lord thinks about it. If you're thinking about joining a fraternity or excuse me, a sorority, I keep on saying that. If you're thinking about joining a sorority, pray about it, do your research. All right. Whatever sorority you're thinking about or whatever sorority you are a part of, just Google. If it's whatever XYZ sorority goddess, XYZ sorority goddess, gonna pop right up. You can't deny that. Do it right now. Do it. I want you to do it right now because, and it's not. I just want people to be free. I don't want people to be bound unnecessarily. I don't want people to like have these open doors unnecessarily and be dealing with things that you don't even understand is from the enemy because of these open doors. Or, I, the generational curses that come with that. You think it'll be better to err on the side of caution? I'd rather not do something. And I don't know if that's right or not. How do God really feel about this? Well, I'd rather not do it just in case than to go on ahead and do it and then have to pay for it later. Because the price of some of that is more than what anybody can pay. All right. Matter of fact, just the other day, literally, was that Tuesday? Tuesday. Literally just Tuesday. This past Tuesday. Um, was at prayer and I literally watched a deliverance session. This lady being delivered literally from she had people in her family that are Freemasons, and she was literally delivered from demons that are associated from her involvement in Eastern Star. Literally. Some stubborn ones too. So I'm not making it up. And those demons was coming for her kids too. So this stuff ain't this stuff ain't nothing to play with. It's not. Okay. So yeah, so so God is again just talking to Israel about, what they shouldn't do, the laws of Sabbath and all of that stuff. Um and then he tells them, "Hey, I'm going to give you an angel to, continue guiding you. Obey him, do not turn against him." Right? And it says he will not forgive such turning against him because my power is within him, right? So God is letting the people know, I'm putting my angel in charge to lead and guide you. Obey him as if it's me, because it is me, but obey him. My power is in him. You turn against him, you turning against me, you know. Um, telling them, don't bow to other gods, don't worship the gods. And then, he said, you can't live like them. You're going to have to live differently. You can't do the things that they do. You can't, live the way that they live. You can't talk the way that they talk. I know that they're worshiping their gods. I know that they're doing all of these things and it seems like they're living their life and doing okay, but don't fall into the trap, right? Don't fall into the trap. Um, where didn't it say that somewhere? Oh, 13. 33. You must not let them live in your land, or they will make you sin against me. If you worship their gods, you will be caught in a trap. It's literally a trap. Even with this sororities and fraternities, it's a trap. You're worshiping their gods, and it's a trap. All right. So, anyways, but when I did, like when it said, God said, I will make your enemies afraid of me. I will confuse them and I will cause them to run away. I'm going to literally send all of your enemies away and send them out of the land, but it's not going to happen all at once, right? I know you want it to happen all at once. Of course, you would just want the enemies to go away. Of course, you would want everything to just go away quick, fast, and in a hurry. You don't got to deal with it. Snap your fingers and they're gone, right? But the Lord said, I'm going to have to do it slowly because then if I do that, well, yeah, you will be free from the opposition of the enemies. But then it ain't going to be, now um, all of the animals and all of the other stuff that they left behind is gonna be too much for y'all. It's not enough of y'all yet, right? So I'm going to build y'all up even more and slowly but surely send them out. So that way, once they are completely out, it will be enough of y'all to be able to manage what I have for y'all, the land that I have promised for you, right? And so I think sometimes, I don't know, I think that's a good principle to take away because sometimes, you know, God is processing because he's preparing, because he's building his people up. He's building you up in order to be able to handle what it is that he has for you, right? Sometimes things are immediate, as we know God can do that, but sometimes it does take um, a process. Sometimes it does take time. Sometimes it does take building up and edification and evolvement in order to be properly prepared and equipped to fully embrace God's promise. All right, Exodus 24. All right, Exodus 24, verse 1. The Lord told Moses, "You, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel must come up to me and worship me from a distance. Then Moses alone must come near me. The others must not come near. The rest of the people must not come up the mountain with Moses." Moses told the people all the Lord's words and laws for living. Then all of the people answered out loud together, we will do all the things the Lord has said. So Moses wrote down all the words of the Lord, and he got up early the next morning and built an altar near the bottom of the mountain. He set up 12 stones, one stone for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. Then Moses sent young Israelite men to offer whole burnt offerings and to sacrifice young bulls as fellowship offerings to the Lord. Moses put half of the blood of the animals in bowls, and he sprinkled the other half of the blood on the altar. Then he took the book of the agreement and read it so the people could hear him. And they said, "We will do everything that the Lord has said, and we will obey." Then Moses took the blood from the bowls and sprinkled it on the people, saying, "This is the blood that begins the agreement which the Lord has made with you about all these words." Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel went up the mountain and saw the God of Israel. Under his feet was a surface that looked as if it were paved with blue sapphire stones, and it was as clear as the sky. These leaders of the Israelites saw God, but God did not destroy them. Then they ate and drank together. The Lord said to Moses, "Come up the mountain to me. Wait there, and I will give you two stone tablets. On these are the teachings and the commands I have written to instruct the people." So Moses and his helper Joshua set out, and Moses went up to Sinai, the mountain of God. Moses said to the elders, "Wait here for us until we come back to you. Aaron and Hur are with you, and anyone who has a disagreement with others can take it to them." When Moses went up to the mountain, the cloud covered it. The glory of the Lord came down on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. On the seventh day, the Lord called to Moses from inside the cloud. The Israelites to the Israelites, the glory of the Lord looked like a fire burning on top of the mountain. Then Moses went into the cloud and went higher up the mountain. He was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. So, um, so Moses and some of the leaders of Israel went to go basically meet with God on top of the mountain with Moses. Um, and um, The people are basically agreeing. They're saying, hey, we're going to follow God. We're going to obey his commandments. We're going to obey his words. We're going to obey him. So, yeah, made a sacrifice on the altar, which was the bottom of the mountain. And which served as there is basically like, okay, there that served as the agreement for them saying that they're going to obey God, right? So it says, "This is let there be against the agreement which the Lord has made with you about all these words." So the agreement, the covenants, or the commandments that God gave the people, the promises that God gave the people, and then them saying that they're going to obey Him. So Moses, God ended up calling Moses up into the cloud, right? That actually looked like a fire to the other people from the bottom of the mountain, but it's the glory of the Lord. Like that got to be so powerful. So Moses went basically, and he spent 40 days and 40 nights in the glory of the Lord, in the presence of the Lord, on top of the mountain. And that's Exodus 24. Imagine, started from he just a boy who got thrown on the side of the river because he was supposed to be killed in the first place according to the laws at that time. Got adopted, called by God to lead the people out of Israel, even though he felt incapable, unworthy, can't barely speak. All of that to now leading the people out of Israel and having a direct physical encounter with God. Spending 40 days and 40 nights in the glory of the Lord. So, yeah, that's our readings for today. That is our readings for today. All right, y'all got anything? Okay, well, if nothing else, we're going ahead and conclude our Bible study for today. I hope y'all enjoy y'all weekend. And we'll be back on Monday morning. We'll be back on Monday morning. Um, let's see, how many chapters is in Exodus? Um, Next week we'll be done with Exodus and moving into Leviticus. All right. Well, I pray that everybody has a great weekend. That the Lord cover you and keep you in Jesus' name. And that we will be back here on Monday morning, reading Exodus 25 through 28. I'll have for those who use the questions, I'll have those done sometime today. Okay. Have a good weekend, y'all. Thanks for being on. And for those who are going to do research, I would love to hear um, what you find. If you have time to look into that stuff about the sororities over this weekend, let me know. Come back and report on Monday what you find, what you think, or what the Lord has spoken to you. All right. Bye.